Band-Aid, and it will never bring a mental health back, these grants. It is just for a first aid. And so that's gonna be a big issue problem to address. We're trying to get the idea of we're gonna have mental health back, but this grant thing that she's trying to get is basically not that. It's an illusion, and it's not grant to bring back mental health, it's just for a first aid Band-Aid. That bothers me, because I thought we were under the assumption that we were gonna be getting a mental health. Our end of the goal is to get one back in town. Not for us to just put this Band-Aid on, and then how are we gonna do it down the road? We're just gonna, everybody depend on each other? Where's this money gonna go to that we have to pay out every year then? You know, that's, either we pay or we don't. This is what I've been told, every year we have to pay this. Well, we're paying for absolutely nothing then? I'm having a hard time with this. I'm very confused.
The amount of money is 2,000 and some. It's not a huge amount. Even if you double that and it goes up to 5,000-ish, that's still not enough to pay for a therapist who is a doctor. That is a big price tag, and that's why they combine 9 different regions for that. So the big counties pay for the little counties is essentially how it works. Because we are closing the facility locally, because we don't have any professionals for it, does not mean that anybody within the region is no longer looking. It just means that right now, we're questioning the wisdom of continuing to pay for a building and heat and rent when there's just no professionals there. So that's what this is about. And Broadwater County doesn't have the money to hire a therapist on our own. We have to be involved with this 9-county region. So I hear your concerns, Melinda. It's a very tough decision. It really is, and a very tough situation.
How are we gonna get anybody to wanna come when we have no building to show them or anything too? How are we gonna address the issue if somebody comes to you and says, I'm interested in this job, but where are you gonna put me?
And this isn't the first time we've moved mental health. That was moved, 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, it's been
So-
many, many times. So do you have another prospect, say, 2 months or 2 weeks, somebody comes and says, I'm looking, what are we gonna do now?
There are other prospects that we could be looking at. You bet.
So we can't be looking, otherwise, we have to keep this sweet for somebody, possibly.
Yeah, and always when there is somebody, there is a time period before when you find someone and when you actually hire them and they're on board. So that does give us some time to work to find a spot. So this isn't a closed door right now, though. It's a temporary situation. It's kind of the way we're looking at it. So, Tim,
Yes, ma'am.
and state your name for the record.
Tim, I just would like to know if you guys have a figure on the annual cost of, total cost of the building that you're paying rent and heat and whatnot for now, that's for that. And then part 2 of my question is when you are no longer going to be having those funds from the county going into that expense, do you have a contingency set up to put that money into a pool, if you will, for available citizens if they might be in an indigent situation and needing help?
Do either of you have an answer to that?
I don't.
Do you, Franklin?
No, I don't.
My
It's a good
guess,
question.
the rents and leases are $2,750. For Broadwater County utilities is $1,073.
Per month?
4 months period ending October 31. So that's for a
that's
4-month
big.
period, so you can times it by 3 to get the annual fee, or at least close. And what was the second part? Oh, and communications is part of that, and that's about $7,000. Our portion of the salaries, benefits, and taxes for the therapist, receptionist, and nurse is $3,500. So we pay a small piece of that. The other counties involved are Blaine, Cascade, Glacier, Hill, Jefferson, Lewis and Clark, Mar, Ponderay, Teton, and Toole counties. So what was the second part of your
Well,
question?
So my question is, leaving out the cost of funding a therapist, which was what our problem is, we don't have one. What is the cost to Broadwater County, if we broke down in 4 months segments or whatever, but what is the cost to the county continuing on in this lease or rent of this building? And if you take that away, is there a contingency to put that funding that comes out of Broadwater County in a place or a pool or a contingency fund, if you will, for helping Broadwater citizens in the event that they do need some help and we don't have the facilities here to take care of their needs?
What's your proposal? I mean, you're aware of what the numbers are. What's your proposal?
I'm sorry, I missed the numbers because you went pretty fast, so I'd ask you to repeat them again, please.
Sure, the amount that we paid is $2,000 to $3,000. The amount that Broadwater County pays into this is
Per month?
No, annually.
$2,000 to $3,000.
$2,000 to $3,000 annually. That goes into the regional pot, that goes into a formula that is then at least doubled based on this formula and comes back to fund a therapist and the different staff that's needed to service these 9 counties. I think it's 9. 1, 2,
Okay.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 counties.
Okay.
So we're a piece of that.
Right.
We're not a standalone. So our bills, and this has come from Mary Ellen at her various visits with us, and one of the things she has said over and over again is the big counties pay for the little counties. So when you look at the bills that I just rattled off, our portion of the salary is $3,500 for 4 months' time. Our portion of communications is over $7,000 for 4 months' time. Our rent is $27.50. Our utilities is $1,073. So you can see where the math is here. We're paying in a fraction, a small fraction of what the overall bill is for
Okay.
Broadwater County. The issue is the therapist and the staff, and that's shared with 11 counties. If we want to be a standalone, it's going to cost us a heck of a lot more than $2,000 to $3,000. We're going to have to fund our own facility, and then we're going to have to do what we can to find our own therapist. So right now, the other counties are doing what we're talking about doing.
So,
And the
okay.
thing is what has been brought back to us is, this is a statement that solidifies the fact that there is a need and we need some help to get some more money so that a therapist wants to apply for this job.
Oh, Madam Chair, so just for clarification purposes,
Mhm.
by getting rid of paying rent on this building, really is not going to save Broadwater County a nickel, because the $2,000 to $3,000 is gonna continue going into the pool. We just ain't gonna have a building on the
That's
docket.
an
Do I
easy
understand
assumption
that
to
correctly?
make, Tim.
Madam Chairman,
Yes,
Ann Rouser for the record.
please.
The issue here right now is what it is costing the mental health system to keep this building open when it's
Exactly.
not being used. That is the immediate issue that we are dealing with.
Exactly.
It doesn't have anything to do with how much money Broadwater County is paying into the system. That drain has to be stopped.
Thank you very much. Good point. And I think that needs to be reiterated. Just because these are the numbers today, if we don't have a therapist, there is no guarantee that this pool is going to be continuing to funnel money when we don't have the structure to keep this open. So, thank you again, Ann, for the comment. John, did you have a
I
comment?
think Kim covered the issue I was going to ask.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Roger Halbert. I moved to the county about 4 years ago. As a taxpayer, my comment is, if you've got an empty building and you're paying money into it, let's stop that. I mean,
And that's my point, what's the savings here?
and my other point is too, I mean, we're talking about the issue of the money in the building, but yet the other issue of care is coming up too, to cloud the issue. But don't the citizens of Broadwater County have a fallback with the hospital? And I see ambulances all the time going from Broadwater County into Lewis and Clark County, because I live in the western part of the district. So by closing this, you're not endangering any services to any of the citizens of
I'm there now.
Broadwater County, are you?
No.
Actually, your point is well made, because the fallback of the hospitals there, yes. There's also a bus system that will take people for $5 to Helena to any appointment that they have. So should somebody need to go to Helena and didn't have their own car, they can certainly pay the $5. And there's a lot of groups, the Ministerial Association, a lot of volunteer groups that would pick up that charge as well.
Because of the economy, I'm now working half to part-time. And I don't want to see my tax dollars just poured into an empty building.
Exactly.
And that's well taken, thank you very much. Cheryl?
I'm not clear, this $2,750 in rent and the $1,073 in electricity, is that a check that's actually written by Broadwater County? Or is it written by whoever we pay this pool of money into?
No, we pay into the pot
Yeah,
for this, with this 7-county region.
yeah,
That is what we pay for mental health. It comes back to the county in the form of a therapist and staff and the building facility. So no, Broadwater County is not writing all these checks. It is coming from the pool. The big counties pay for the smaller counties. Does that help? It's the same thing. No, Broadwater County is not writing the check. The thing is, we don't have the structure to keep a facility, a building, open because we don't have staff. So all we are doing, we being either the 11-county regional group or Broadwater County citizens, are being asked today to close a building that has no foundation, no staff, or to find the funds to start paying for that, to keep it open as a social center at this point without staffing. So that's what the gist of the conversation is today. John?
John Wright, you know, you've talked all the way around this thing. What is that building gonna save us per month to close it? Let's get it back to the basics.
Nothing at this point. The question is, if we keep it open,
No,
it's
no, no,
going
we're
to be...
spending something.
John, let me answer your question, please. Right now, it is being paid for by this regional group through this formula. If we keep it open without the staffing foundation, it will fall on Broadwater County. And that's one of the things we're looking at. Do we want to keep this open and just pay this money out when we don't have the staffing? Or do we go ahead and close it now and also save the 11-county region so that we can try and get a therapist who can actually do some serious good for the people who need it? Any other thoughts, arguments, questions, concerns? Paul?
Will we continue to pay the $3,000 per year into this kitty, into this pot?
That we don't know at this time. We are going to have to see what happens. I hope that they're able to find a therapist, because we would be, to try and do this individually as counties would be very difficult. However, there are some things people are working on. So I don't know. Long answer to your question. At this point, we don't know. Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a point, please. Again, Roger Halber. When we talk about the matching funds coming from the government, well, those only come from two sources: our tax dollars or an increase in our national debt. None of us in this room want either one of those, do we? So let's close the thing and save us some money and save our government some money. We've got a fallback in the hospital, so the situation's being taken care of.
All right, thank you.
Or when will we know when you can close out this amount of money that's being paid into the fund, that apparently there'll be no usage in our county? When will you know about that?
We get the bill at budget season, so that'll be June-ish timeframe. Yes, Trudy?
Trudy Southwick, if the region is paying the rent and the utilities, do they not have a say in the building being open or closed? If it comes, if part of it comes with the therapist and that you get the building?
This recommendation and request came from Mary Ellen Schnurr, who attends the regional meetings on behalf of the commission because they're on Mondays.
So it was a regional, during that meeting that they requested to look at closing the building?
Correct, and like I said, Marr and Jefferson have already done this.
Okay.
So,
What about the other counties that are in the region?
I don't know. Mary Ellen may have that, we didn't ask, she didn't volunteer it. She did volunteer our neighbors, Marr and Jefferson, just because we are kind of, you know,
Sure.
close, and what they do oftentimes affects what we do. So, that's all we know at this point.
Okay, thank you.
All right, members of the board, any comments based on what you've heard, any motions you care to make on this particular subject at this time?
I move that we go for it and close it.
I second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we go ahead and close the mental health building. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Any other time, this kind of a situation would be more of a managerial issue, but because it does affect personally a population that we have in the county, that is why we brought it forward on the agenda and took public comment on this. So thank you everyone for your comments, and as we know more on this situation, we will keep you apprised of that moving forward. So it is almost noon. We have no COS, it doesn't look like. We'll quickly finish mail and then adjourn for lunch. We have a letter of support. This is for the Brownfields Coalition. This is a 9-county issue right now. And the Brownfields, it looks at property, it's an idea of infilling rather than spreading out. Looks at property that used to be gas stations or have some kind of a hazardous situation on it, and it does, it brings in experts to look at what is there and propose or clean up the issues. We have one, and that is the hospital building that Extension is in, has an old stove that may have asbestos around it. We need to know if it is indeed asbestos and hopefully get it cleaned up. And they will be coming to Montana to work with a number of different counties, and that will be free to the citizens of Broadwater County.
This has been ongoing here, on all this cleanup stuff. I don't know what we have to
To continue.
I think it's just
This is a cost savings to Broadwater County taxpayers. This is a service that is provided, and anytime you can pool resources to bring someone in who's an expert on this kind of stuff, it saves money. For us to have to go out and pull in the experts and do it individually, it's gonna cost us. Last I heard from Mike, he was looking at between $8,000 and $10,000. This will be a free service to us because we're able to combine with these other counties. So if you guys are agreeable to this letter of support or an assessment proposal, it can go out in the mail.
You know, we have used that, the Grover gas station, which was across the street, it was used for that. John and Matt Schreiner's gas station at the head of Maine, it's been used on that. I'm gonna have to think of others.
Corner bar?
Yeah, Corner
Mhm.
Bar.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's more, those are the ones that come quick to my mind. Yeah, question.
May I just make a comment?
We'll go ahead and take, yes, you may.
My comment is from some experience I've had. I worked for Congressman Hill as a field rep, and I know that Bozeman has been very, very active in this type of program. And if they're part of this county group, then it can probably be done very well, because they did a good job of it.
And they do have quite a list, don't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they know what they're doing.
It boils down to anybody that has any property they're gonna sell, they've gotta go through these steps that is environmentally safe. I think this is just another bureaucracy part in there.
And-
You mentioned the Grover building, I know exactly on that, cause I took them huge tanks out of there. And I found the contamination and give it to the state that time. And then later they did their cleanup. It's like, I took a lot of tanks out. But anyway, like I say, if they wanna sell that building, whoever the owner is and wanna sell it, they gotta prove that it's cleared.
The owner of
And
this
so,
particular building, Franklin, is the taxpayers of Broadwater County. If they have the choice of getting this done or of paying it for themselves, I have a good feeling which way they would go on that.
Well, if you're talking about the Grover, that should have been all cleared up when the state come in and did all that.
No, I just said the Grover building as an example that it had been done on.
And the
It's
state
same as
doesn't clean
Shriners.
it up, Franklin, the property owner does. This is an assistance for them to know what needs to be done and give them the direction and assistance to get it done. The issue
The
we
state
have.
overseed it, I saw them there when they were doing all this stuff. But anyway,
Okay.
go
I'm
ahead.
going to move on, and Franklin, if you want to go ahead and make some phone calls and get your own education, I think that would be valuable to the citizens of this county. I would entertain a motion to send this letter of support for the Central Montana Brownfield Coalition Assessment Proposal.
I so moved.
Do we have a second? I will second. It's been moved and seconded to go ahead and send this letter for the Central Montana Brownfield Coalition Assessment Proposal. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Opposed? Franklin. Motion carries. Thank you very much. And we finally have as our last piece of mail claims dated 1/6/2014 in the amount of $103,183.19.
I move that we pay claims in the amount of $103,183.19.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. We paid the approved claims in the amount of $103,183.19. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
This form needs changed.
Oh, yes, it does. Thank you.
What's that even?
I said this form needs changed. It's got me as chair.
Oh.
Thanks. I will address that for next week. All right, we will break for lunch. It is 1 minute to 12, or 1 minute early, and reconvene at 1:30. Thank you all.
Chair, Paul Bray, do you have any idea how that Brownfield Coalition is financed? Just for my education.
You know, do you know Roger from your work with?
It's a sub-program of the EPA. It's financed with federal dollars. Situation came about where EPA was coming in and shutting down properties, and property owners were just up in arms. And so finally Congress had to move and appropriate some money for these poor property owners that these aren't property owners that are dumping hazardous waste on their property to get rid of it. These are poor property owners that ended up with a piece of property that had the hazardous waste on it. Yeah, it's federal dollars.
Thank you. All right, we are recessed for lunch. See you at 1:30.
Yeah.
How often does my house go to hell? Last night I heard it was
still just a
on
bureaucracy.
Wednesdays, and that was it. Did he change
If you had-
the schedule?
My understanding is that we're daily, if there's somebody.
If they have enough
Yeah.
people, I know that there's a criteria there also.
Yeah.
Because at first it used to only be Wednesdays.
County's not in the process of selling it, then.
Hi, Roger.
On Wednesdays only?
No,
I don't.
it's- it-
I don't know if the Sky Water can turn that
Other
was,
people that
but the
enjoy
county
it
has to.
back up.
It has to be clear before the county can buy it. That's in our rules, got in there a year
All
ago.
right, I can,
Going to lunch?
I got lunch with me.
You
yes, we
wanna
can.
run over?
Yes, we can.
Huh?
Wanna run over to the building?
Oh, okay, yeah,
If you got lunch?
yeah. Sounds good.
I'll even haul you over.
I'll just meet you there,
Well, maybe I should.
because I might want to leave early.
Don't worry, when you wanna leave, I'm out of it. Either way, if you wanna meet me over there, that's fine.
Yeah, I'll do that, I'll just meet you over there.
You're parking
And I should,
back.
yeah, I park right back, I should be there within 5 minutes. Sometimes I get caught going out here.
That's what I mean. I'm gonna escort you out.
Yeah, that might be the best way.
So did you go your boat ride during that surf or during that swim?
Gonna have to go with you guys at some point.
We've worked closely with those guys, they've educated us as well. Now, it hasn't been funded, it's federal law that it has to be funded, but it hasn't been determined what the amount is.
Throw somebody over and tell them to buy.
It's tied up.
Throw somebody out there, back into
Yeah,
different things like
yeah,
that.
and by federal law. And Roger, I'm Laura, over. Nice to meet you. Thank you for your comments today. I thought you really kind of took things and just muddled them into facts. So you really brought us around.
Just knock them
You
out.
don't want to show these couple of
That's right.
Yeah, it sounds like
We
it.
have enough of those floating around.
I was in on the list, it's,
Oh,
And I believe Mario,
trading all that federal land out for personal land that he
the
owned.
mental health
Richard
coalition,
Boyle,
I
and
believe
Goodwill
was
was opposition to it, tried to shut down any new ski developments. It was a
And this building is
Washington DC.
where?
and that's how you ended up working on it for the congressman then?
All right. Now, to get an answer to my question. Comment back on this one, how do I go about going through that?
We have not commented on that, we're not working.
I think it's getting more and more.
I was convinced we were going to regulation also.
You certainly can. I don't have his number on me, but I can.
Disclosures on their buy sales.
Okay.
It's gotten extremely complex because you have to list all the disclosures on the buy sale, whether there's any toxic waste. Who knows? Because my neighbor's got a junkyard, so I need to talk to the commissioner about the rules on junkyards. Yeah. But I mean, he's got a whole bunch of cars sitting out there, they're leaking oil. And I know from my work in the Brownsville situation, that property now is probably toxic.
unfortunately,
But he doesn't know it. And if he goes to sell it and doesn't disclose it on the buy-sell, and a new owner comes in and finds no grass growing in spots where there's patches of oil, all hell's gonna break loose. It's,
No, and a lot to me. Tell him I wasn't sure at this point. I should turn on this.
and even if Norman's gone,
I know, and here we have a certain.
yeah.